Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second part of Seven of a Time. Now, I'm afraid I'm going to have to record this story in three parts because I have tried to record it all in one part, but the video is too big for YouTube's limit. Anyway, let's continue. It was the next day, and Mitch and Sarah were around the victim's house with a team of men in white coats. Mitch and Sarah were in the kitchen with a man who had a magnifying glass. "I think I may have found something." Mitch looked up at the man who spoke. "I found his golden hair. It might have come from a golden retriever, or might be from somebody whose hair color is blonde. I ran some tests to see if it's from a human or an animal, then I sent it off for further analysis. The results should be around in a few weeks. I've done this before. Okay, if it does turn out to be fair, then we'll cross-reference it with the sample we found in the hospital. I'll send it round to you. Now, have we had any progress of finding out how the assailant entered the house? That's been more interesting. Now, the assailant must have used a laser cutter to break open the window, because there isn't any excess glass in the surrounding area. Also, the window has been very neatly cut, so there's no jagged glass, and unfortunately, no clothes tearing. Okay, thank you for your help. We will be in touch," Sarah said professionally. She and Mitch headed out of the door and back to the car. It was the end of another slow and boring few weeks, and Mitch was sitting by his desk with Sarah opposite him, and the results of the test were between them. Turns out that the hair was actually some thread spray painted blonde. Whoever committed this crime certainly covered his tracks well, Mitch said, dejected. Sarah nodded and perked up a bit. "You know the one thing all these cases have in common?" Mitch shrugged. "All these people that have been attacked have had professions to do with medicine. First case, where the receptionist had been murdered. Now, where did she work? At St. George's Hospital. Now, the second case, which was an eye doctor, at St. Anne's Hospital. And the third case was the explosion at St. George's Hospital. Where the bomb was placed? Across the eye ward. See my point?" Mitch nodded with enthusiasm. "So if the killer is, his targets are people in the medical industry," Mitch deduced. Sarah didn't look impressed. "Anyway, I think we should find out what job the fourth victim has." Mitch nodded and pulled his coat on and walked out of the office and down to the car park with Sarah following him. "Hello, we're here to ask some more questions, if that's okay," Sarah said gently. The man nodded. "What's your job?" "I'm an assistant to an eye doctor, like a nurse to a normal doctor." "Where did you work?" "Here, in this hospital." "Who did you work for?" "An eye doctor called Nikki Lambert, sorry." "Do you know what happened to her?" "Yes, I heard she'd been murdered." "Yes, that's right. She's been attacked in the same circumstances as you." "Can I ask what this is for?" "I'm sorry, sir, that information is confidential. We'll leave you alone now." Mitch and Sarah walked out of the room. "I think that definitely confirms your hunch." Sarah smiled. "Come on, we better report this back to HQ." "Do you have it?" Gravity asked. Shadow nodded and passed it to Gravity. She handled it with caution. "It was really painful. We're not the ones it's going to go into." Gravity smiled and stroked Bliss. "I think those injections did a trick. Bliss is feeling so much healthier." "That's good news. Have you got everything else?" "Yes, it's going to be perfect. We're going to be undetectable." "So who have you chosen this time?" Gravity asked with interest. "He's a trainee stockbroker." You should rate the pattern. "What time is it now?" Shadow looked up at the nearby clock tower. "It's 4 p.m. Might as well get started." "Guess what? Another death." Sarah nodded. "This guy's on a murder spree. Any connection between the other cases?" "None at all. This man died in a completely different way and in completely different circumstances." Sarah sighed. "This man was stabbed in the back at 5:30, just as he was coming home from work," Sarah explained. "What work does he do?" "He's a trainee stockbroker. Now, we've been looking around his house, and it seems that the back door got picklocked open. Also, you found what seems to be the murder weapon, buried in the back garden. Now, it is a bit dirty, but it's been analysed at this moment. Seems a bit weird, burying a weapon in a garden. It's like the killer wants to be caught. Maybe he does. Kill enough people and will get to you. Mitch walked over to a white tent where tests had taken place. He picked up a clipboard which had the results of the killer's identity. Mitch frowned and went over to show Sarah. That can't be right. It doesn't make sense. That's what was on the knife. Okay, I think we should bring him in for questioning. Mitch's radio suddenly crackled into life. Mitch, I want to talk to you. See me back in HQ. Mitch groaned and went back into the car. Mitch was back in the police station, sitting in the office of Chief Inspector Milton. Mitch, this is a shoddy affair. I do believe the murder case was going quite well, and this one came up. So sure you'd found a means, and then this happened. Also, what's happening in the hospital? I made that your main priority, and you don't do anything about it. You better do something, or you're off the murder case completely. So with all due respect, there was nothing to find in the hospital. It was just terrorists or something like that. It's just a relapse of an old terrorist attack. Chief Inspector Milton sighed. Look, Mitch, I know you're very dedicated to the murder case, but this is much more important. So many more people died. Mitch nodded. I understand. Mitch turned and started to walk out of the door. Gravity was already sitting upright when a shadow awoke. He got up and stretched his arms. Anyone on the list today? He joked. I think we should be more concerned with trying to keep us alive rather than ending other people's lives, Gravity harshly replied. I'll be back soon. Shadow moved away into the crowd, leaving Gravity on the doorstep. She could hear it was quite a busy day, and she knew there would be quite good takers. Gravity started to think to herself, when suddenly brought out of her thoughts by a clink of money. She put her hand down and started feeling inside the cut and found £5 in change. Isn't it good to be back in the business district? She thought to herself. Long after this, she distinctly heard 3 male voices crowding around her. Put the money down, Gravity said solidly. What are you going to do, you dumb blonde? First voice spat out. The voice had a rough, gravelly sound to it. The voice suddenly found itself with a knife pressed into its back. You really don't want to know what she can do. Gravity perked up. Hey, Shadow. How's it going, sis? Shadow suddenly lashed out behind him and caught the knee of a man sneaking up at an amazing speed, got behind the man and pressed a knife into his throat. The man started whimpering as he felt the cold metal being pressed into his throat. Shadow gently whispered into his ear. She can't do anything. She's as blind as a bat and just as ugly. First voice snarled. Bliss growled deeply and jumped onto the first voice, knocking him to the ground. Gravity stood up and smiled and started to follow the sound of Bliss's growling and the man's pathetic whimpering. Bliss was still on him. Very sharply the man stopped convulsing and lay still. What did you do to him? This time it was Shadow who smiled as he drew the knife across the carotid artery. He collapsed, blood spurting from his neck. Shadow turned to the last man. If you want to stay alive, you run along and never tell anybody about what happened here. The man nodded and sped away. Shadow pulled Gravity up. We should go too. The place will not be safe for us anymore. Shadow pulled Gravity up, quietly ran down a nearby alleyway. And that's it for the 3rd chapter. Join me next time for Blood of Innocence, the 4th chapter. I'll see you later then, guys. Bye.